And our top focus story on the broadcast, the India-US bilateral summit, the first in person between US President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This is the first time they're meeting as heads of state and government in person after Biden took over. They've met earlier when Joe Biden was Vice President of the United States of America. Now, there will be talk on trade. There is talk on the Indo-Pacific churn. Biden has called India a close friend. In fact, in his initial statement, he spoke of how earlier he'd spoken of India and the US. They would be closest friends by 2020. And this was a comment made more than a decade ago. And he said, this is now time to take this relationship forward. India-US ties destined to be stronger. Together we can overcome challenges. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he said Biden era in the United States would be transformative. The Prime Minister spoke of trade. He spoke of technology. He also said technology will shape ties. Let's listen both to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Joe Biden. I will get you much more on this story. We'll also talk about their body language, the substantive issues and the road ahead. But let's listen in.
जब भारत और अमेरिका के संबंधों में मैं ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव देख रहा हूं, तब मैं देख रहा हूं कि ट्रेडिशन, लोकतांत्रिक परंपराओं और मूल्यों को लेकर के जो हम जी रहे हैं और जिसके प्रति हम समर्पित हैं, हम कमिटेड हैं, वो ट्रेडिशन का अपना एक महात्म्य और अधिक बढ़ेगा। आपने उल्लेख किया 4 मिलियन से अधिक लोग भारत के यहाँ अमेरिका की विकास यात्रा में सहभागी हैं। ये दशक में टैलेंट का अपना एक महत्व है। पीपल टू पीपल, ये टैलेंट इस दशक में बहुत ही प्रभावी भूमिका अदा करेगा और भारत के टैलेंट अमेरिका की विकास यात्रा में पूरी तरह सहभागी होती चली जाए, उसमें आपका योगदान बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। आज की हमारी ये बायलैटरल समिट, लेकिन मैं देख रहा हूं कि ये दशक 21वीं शताब्दी के तीसरे दशक का ये पहला वर्ष, मैं पूरे दशक की तरफ देख रहा हूं कि आपके नेतृत्व में जो बीज हम बोएंगे, इस पूरा दशक हमारी दृष्टि से बहुत ही भारत और अमेरिका के संबंध में, विश्व के लोकतांत्रिक देशों के लिए एक बहुत ही ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव ये कालखंड रहेगा, ऐसा मेरा विश्वास है। दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा ड्राइविंग फोर्स बन रही है टेक्नोलॉजी। इस दशक में भारत और अमेरिका के रिश्तों में टेक्नोलॉजी, और वो भी पूरी मानवता के लिए उपयोगी हो, उस दिशा में हमारी टैलेंट टेक्नोलॉजी को माध्यम से बहुत बड़ी सेवा कर सकती है और एक बड़ा अवसर हमें उपलब्ध होगा। उसी प्रकार से भारत और अमेरिका के बीच ट्रेड का अपना महत्व है और इस दशक में ट्रेड के क्षेत्र में भी हम एक दूसरे को काफ़ी पूरक हो सकते हैं। बहुत सी चीज़ें हैं जो अमेरिका पास है, जो भारत को ज़रूरत है, बहुत सी चीज़ें भारत के पास है जो अमेरिका के काम आ सकती हैं। तो ट्रेड भी इस दशक का एक बहुत बड़ा क्षेत्र रहेगा।
Of course, our partnership is more than just what we do. It's about who we are. It's rooted in our shared responsibility to uphold democratic values, our joint commitment to diversity, and it's about family ties, including 4 million Indian Americans who make the United States stronger every single day. And today, we're launching a new chapter in the history of U.S.-Indian ties and taking on some of the toughest challenges we faced together, starting with a shared commitment to ending the COVID pandemic. Prime Minister and I were going to be talking today about what more we can do to fight COVID-19, take on the climate challenges that the world face, and ensure stability in Indo-Pacific, including with our own Quad partners. And I think that's begun to come to pass, and today we're launching a new chapter in the history of U.S.-Indian ties and taking on some of the toughest challenges we faced together, starting with a shared commitment to ending the COVID pandemic. And I think that the relationship between India and the United States the largest democracies in the world, is destined to be stronger, closer, and tighter, and I think it can benefit the whole world.
The largest democracies of the world, the largest and the oldest democracies of the world, destined to be tighter, closer, stronger, says US President Joe Biden. Says in 2006 he predicted by 2020 they'd be strongest partners. I quickly want to introduce our guests. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former diplomat, Dr. Sriram Sundar Chaulia, Professor and Dean at Jindal School, Manjeet Kriplani, Executive Director, Gateway House, join me on the broadcast. Before I come to our guests, I quickly want to cut across to Washington, D.C., where Geeta Mohan, our Foreign Affairs Editor, joins us. Geeta, when we talk about India-US relations, Prime Ministers, three summits in the past, with three leaders, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden. The words they said, the body language, what's the big takeaway initially?
Right outside the White. Here you can see the inside voicing Vande Mataram, we love Modi, and chanting Modi, Modi, and Vande Mataram. On the other side, there are some Pakistani elements who turned out and started protesting over here. And the police over here, the cops have had to come, security personnel now deployed right between the Pakistani elements and the Indian community who are here to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Ma'am, let's have to come to you. We see a lot of Pakistani elements who turned up over here. What do you have to say to them?
Okay, so Geeta, we will come back to you in just a moment as we reestablish that audio link with you. But let me quickly cut across to Manjeet Kriplani of the Gateway House. Your take on what the Prime Minister said, on what the US President said in terms of India-US relations, trade, technology being the driving force. Was there a conscious effort not to mention the challenges in Indo-Pacific, or is that being kept for the Quad meeting, the first Quad summit ahead?
I think the issue is less about whether the challenges of the Indo-Pacific were mentioned or the challenges of having Afghanistan collapse right next door to us has been mentioned. It's been very interesting in the year 2000, really, when Clinton came to India. India had its geopolitical coming out party. And that relationship, really the India-US relationship, has been driven by technology. First, it was the software industry, and now it's e-commerce, as we can see. China has faded into the distance just in this last 2 years because of the pandemic. So I think India is doing a fairly good job of trying to position itself well with the United States without reminding it of all the things that it's been doing to keep India back. A, always supporting Pakistan over India, and B, really favoring China in so many ways. When the US brought China into the WTO in the year 2001, Gaurav, the kind of effort that the US put in, it brought in all its allies, it brought in the UK, Europe, the EU, and Japan to help China come into the WTO. That kind of effort to bring India into the trade bloc of the US as such has not taken place. Instead, there's been a lot of quibbling, there's been a lot of stuff about market access and our pharmaceutical sector not doing right, etc. That conversation has receded for now, and we're back to technology. So I think that we should pay attention, and India should, and we've learned a lot in the last 20 years. We're just allowing the US to now lead us with technology. We're going to do the best because we have our own issues with physical infrastructure, instead of which we are allowing our virtual infrastructure and our virtual virtues to take us forward. And that's
Ambassador
the
Prabhu
best way to
Dayal.
deal with the US just now.
Okay. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, the conversations that we saw yesterday with Vice President Kamala Harris and the initial conversation with US President Joe Biden. Now, there was a lot of skepticism earlier that when the Democrats are in power, perhaps India may be on the back foot. Initially, some argued that that warmth that was seen between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and then President Donald Trump, that was missing today. But given the fact that there was a visible effort even on the part of Kamala Harris to show Prime Minister Narendra Modi apart, show him around the Eisenhower building, the effort that is made today, does that indicate that those fears were unfounded?
Absolutely. First of all, those fears were misplaced in any case, because there is bipartisan support in the United States for a stronger relationship with India. Now, I have a slightly different perception as regards China as compared to the previous speaker, because I think that China has not faded away. In fact, just today, China sent fighter jets towards Taiwan, and there was a lot of anxiety on that account, with Taiwan scrambling up its own fighter jets. And there is growing concern about what China has been hiding in regard to the COVID-19 virus.
Okay.
In addition, there continue to be concerns about Chinese expansionism. As far as we in India are concerned, we still continue to have the face-off with China on the line of actual control. So the threat from China has not really gone away anywhere. And I think that both in the bilaterals and more particularly during the court discussions, the issue of Chinese expansionism and the threats which emanate from the Chinese mainland will be discussed. Of course, there are a whole lot of other issues which will also be discussed.
We'll talk about a whole lot of other issues, but is this, I once again want to try and reestablish that link with Geeta Mohan, and Jeff Smith, research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, joins Geeta in Washington, D.C. Geeta, on the one hand, India is a part of BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. On the other, Quad, first in-person summit taking place. Is one at the cost of the other?
Well, we've been discussing this, Gaurav. One cannot be at the cost of other, but yes, there's a fine line that all these countries will have to walk, whether it's India or China. China also has to decide whether if it wants to continue with its aggression and aggressive posturing, or whether if it wants to be a part of the entire Indo-Pacific or not. I'm being joined by Jeff Smith, like he said, research fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Many thanks for joining us, Jeff. The question over here is that there's BRICS. There are many other forums where India and China are together, including Russia, SCO, and now we have the Quad. Is one going to be pitted against the other?
There is definitely some tension in the different organizations India is a part of, but I would say not all multilateral organizations are created equal, and I think the Quad is much more aligned with Indian strategic interests than the SCO or BRICS, which both contain a country that is hostile to India, that has Indian blood on its hands after the dispute in the border in the dock last year, resulting in Indian casualties. A country that has claims on Indian territory is a part of these organizations. So it's always going to be a stretch how India was going to align with the agendas of SCO and BRICS. And I think you have to recognize that there are tensions between the Quad and these other organizations. But
Geeta, give me a moment. We will try and fix that audio link with you in just a moment. But let me take this question to Professor Sriram Cholia. China's unnerved, as some argue, by this first in-person Quad summit. And China says that this is happening. I mean, India has to choose BRICS, SCO or Quad. Does India have to choose, or are we doing a good job, a tightrope walk?
Well, Gaurav, in a emerging multipolar order, there are no hard alliances anymore. Especially rising powers cannot afford to be. So we need Russia. I mean, Russia is a valued defense partner in its own right, and it also helps us to keep China under some degree of check within RIC and BRICS and all these formats, SCO. In all these formats, actually, it's a misnomer to think that we are with China. We are actually part of these organizations in order to internally counterbalance China and to ensure that the space of the global south is not being monopolized by China. On the other hand, there is JAI, Japan, America, India, and of course the US-India strategic partnership, which we are seeing with the Prime Minister in the White House. So I think, and this has got different geopolitical implication, because our number one challenge going forward, President Biden talked about a lot of tough challenges. The number one thing, of course, is the Indo-Pacific, and to maintain some kind of a balance of power in Indo-Pacific. So for that reason, the US will remain important. So in a way, both the United States and Russia help us to manage our China problem. People don't realize it because the Russia-US people think is antagonistic. But actually, from our point of view, sitting in New Delhi, we need both Moscow and Washington to manage this giant on our north, which is Beijing. So in that sense, we are not exclusive, and that's why we are not in favor of this.
And being a part of Quad, does that help checkmate China, Manjeet Kriplani, in your view? Being a part of Quad, or does Quad now take a backseat with focus on AUKUS?
I don't think the Quad will take a backseat, and certainly I hope that India and Japan will not allow it to take a backseat. Particularly for India, this is really the first multilateral organization in which India is in on the ground floor. It's got three very powerful and rich democracies. We are there because we have a big market, and we're also a very powerful democracy. So I certainly hope that the Quad is not going to be checkmated by AUKUS. The AUKUS is a security partnership really for a specific reason between three Anglo countries. There's not a Saxon left anymore because France is not there, but it's really three Anglo countries, and let them have what they want to have. We will have our Quad, and we will continue to strengthen it because we need the technology, we need the partnerships, we need the stability, and we can offer a market that China used to offer and now no longer can.
Supply chain resilience, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, that works better between democracies when India is the partner and not China. But do we see actual movement in this direction, or do you just see this as a lot of talk and not action on ground?
No, I think there is some action on the ground also. But it suited American manufacturers very much to have the sort of relationship which the United States had with China, because they were able to outsource their manufacturing process. It was much cheaper for them to do so. And at the same time, China being the sort of society it is, it was able to control the labor force, and everything worked out very well for the American manufacturers and ultimately for the consumers. Now, that partnership is eroding. Whether India can replace China in that sense remains to be seen. But certainly, our interest is in having American investment in future technologies. You would notice that Prime Minister's meetings with the CEOs were mainly concentrated on future technology investment in India.
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's Qualcomm or General Atomics, his focus remained that. And all of this, as you very rightly point out, has China rattled. Now, just ahead of this Quad summit in Washington, D.C., China has actually slammed the Quad agenda. Beijing said, and I quote, "The formation of an exclusive closed clique runs against the trend of times," unquote. This as Quad aims at countering the growing Chinese belligerence in the Indo-Pacific region. Geeta Mohan gets us more.
Quad has rattled China. The summit between the US, India, Australia and Japan is bothering China, so much so that Beijing issued a statement ahead of the historic talks. China says any grouping of nations should not harm a third country.
China always believes that any regional cooperation mechanism should not target a third party or harm its interests. Seeking exclusive close cliques against a third country runs against the trend of the times and aspiration of countries in the region. It will find no support.
The Chinese foreign minister further added, seeking exclusive closed cliques against a third country runs against the trend of the times and aspiration of countries in the region. China's statement comes in the wake of the first in-person Quad summit between the US, India, Japan and Australia in Washington, D.C. on the invitation of President Joe Biden. The informal quadrilateral security talks aim to keep a check on growing Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific region and Beijing's claim on 1.3 million square mile South China Sea as its sovereign territory. In March, US President Joe Biden hosted the first ever summit of Quad leaders in the virtual format. The leaders then vowed to strive for an Indo-Pacific region that is free, rooted to democratic values, sending a subtle message to China.
The first in-person Quad meeting is significant. China, riled, is threatening and warning of ramifications, but undeterred Group of Four are going ahead to ensure democratic values are honored, that there is freedom of navigation and that there is inclusivity in the Indo-Pacific. In Washington, D.C., Geeta Mohan for India.
So the bilateral is happening, Quad ahead. We'll be tracking that story very closely and we'll be live on that story 11 p.m. onwards. Coming up on the other side of a quick break, Vedanta founder Anil Agrawal exclusive with Udyan Mukherjee on the Business Today show.